Juno Park stood in front of the mirror and sighed. Her suit didn't fit quite right. It was one of those standard Earth diplomat uniforms, plain gray, too stiff, and always a little itchy. She had never expected to wear it. After all, she was only an assistant to Ambassador Tiller. But today, the ambassador was sick with space flu. And Juno? She was the only one left on Earth's team who could attend the Zarelian ceremony of respect. Just smile and nod, she whispered to herself. How hard can it be? She had no idea. The Galactic Peace Station was massive, a floating city among the stars. Creatures of every shape, size, and smell moved through its glass halls. Some hovered, some slithered, and others shimmered like air. Juno followed the glowing signs toward the Grand Garden of Honor, where the ceremony was being held. As she entered the enormous hall, she stopped and stared. The garden was not what she expected. There were no flowers. Instead, giant floating jellyfish glowed above the guests. Tall glass pillars sparkled with shifting colors. Alien music like singing whales and tinkling wind chimes filled the air. Thousands of guests from every part of the galaxy stood in respectful silence. At the center stood a tall figure in golden robes. His skin was deep blue with shining silver, patterns moving across it like liquid light. This was Lord Varakta, the high aristocrat of the Zarelian Empire. He raised his long arms and spoke. We gather in the ancient tradition. Today we recognize Earth, a young world, a wild world, but perhaps a worthy one. The crowd murmured approval. Some creatures nodded with their antennae. Others clicked or hummed. Juno swallowed hard and stepped forward. She bowed slightly, the way Earth's protocol book suggested. Thank you, Lord Varakta. On behalf of Earth, I am honored to be here. Lord Varakta turned his head slightly. His many eyes blinked slowly. We welcome you, Juno Park. You, a humble seed of your world, shall receive the greatest gift of our people. She blinked. Wait. What gift? Before she could ask, Varakta took a deep breath. The silver lines on his skin pulsed. He leaned forward and spat right on her cheek. It was warm and sticky. And shiny. The hall gasped. Some species made clicking sounds of deep respect. A few even bowed to her. One long-furred alien even fainted from excitement. But Juno? She blinked again. She slowly reached up, wiped her face, and looked at her hand. You, she said out loud. Then she pulled a handkerchief from her pocket and wiped the rest off. The entire room fell silent. Lord Varakta's eyes narrowed. His silver markings dimmed. You refuse our sacred honor? What? You spat on me, she said, stepping back. It is the highest symbol of Zarelian approval, he said. Only those we respect most receive it. Well, Juno said, trying to stay calm. On Earth, spitting on someone is not a good thing. Another wave of shocked murmurs ran through the crowd. A yellow-skinned alien with 6 arms raised a translator cube and said, Earthling does not understand sacred custom. Should she be punished? Punished? For wiping spit off her face? No, Juno said quickly. Look, I didn't mean to offend anyone. On Earth, we show respect differently, like handshakes, or bows, or coffee. Lord Varakta raised a hand. The room quieted again. You shame our tradition, and with it you shame your planet. Juno felt her heart pound. That's not fair. I didn't shame anyone. I just didn't know. Another alien floated forward, this one shaped like a balloon with tiny wings. Perhaps Earth is not ready for the council, it said in a buzzing voice. Not if they refuse our ways. But, Juno began. Enough. Lord Varakta said. The insult is clear. Earth will answer for this. Before the Galactic Tribunal. Gasps again. Juno felt cold all over. This was bad. Really bad. She had just gotten her first real assignment. And now, she might have started an interstellar incident. Back in the Earth sector of the station, Juno sat in the small meeting room with the rest of the Earth team. Ambassador Tiller sat across from her, wrapped in a blanket and sipping tea. You wiped it off? He said weakly. I didn't know it was a compliment, she said. No one told me. He sighed. That's the problem with alien politics. Every species has their own weird rules, but the Xerelians are special. They're powerful, old, and very proud. Are we going to get kicked out of the council? She asked. Maybe, he said. Unless we can explain things at the tribunal. Juno sat back. She felt tired and embarrassed, but also a little annoyed. Was it really fair for one species to expect everyone else to follow their weird customs? Just because they thought spitting was noble, did that mean she had to like it? Was that what diplomacy meant? Maybe not. Maybe it was time to talk about respect in a different way. That night, Juno sat in her bunk staring at the stars outside the station window. She remembered her mom's words, back when Juno had first joined the diplomatic service. Don't let anyone tell you respect is something they give you. Respect is something you build. She smiled a little. Maybe this wasn't a disaster. Maybe it was a beginning. The tribunal hall of the Galactic Peace Station was even larger than the garden where Juno Park had been spat on. Its high glass ceiling showed the stars beyond, and its long rows of seats were filled with aliens of every kind, big, small, glowing, floating, buzzing, crawling. Each one represented a world, a species, or a voice in the Galactic Council. At the very front stood a tall, curved platform made of white stone. That was where the tribunal would speak. The 3 judges were chosen, from different species. One had no mouth, one had 6 eyes, and one looked like a tree with blinking lights. And Juno? She stood alone at the center, facing them. Earth's flag floated on a screen behind her. But she didn't feel brave or proud. She felt very small. A loud tone rang through the hall. The tribunal begins, said a floating metal cube. Case, Earth's representative Juno Park, charged with insult toward High Lord Virakta of the Xerelian Empire. Juno looked up, trying not to fidget. Her heart was beating like a drum. One of the judges leaned forward. Representative Park. It said in a voice like wind through pipes. Explain your actions at the ceremony of respect. Juno took a deep breath. I didn't know the Xerelian custom, she said clearly. On Earth, spitting on someone is rude. I didn't mean to insult Lord Virakta. I just reacted the way any human would. Whispers rippled through the crowd. A lizard-like alien clicked its claws. Earth must adapt to the galaxy. We all follow the ancient ways. But that's not fair, Juno said. Respect isn't the same on every planet. On Earth, we shake hands. On some worlds, people bow. On others, they give gifts. No one way should be forced on everyone. Another alien, shaped like a jellyfish with wings, floated forward. The Xerelians have given their honor to only 8 species in 5 centuries, it said. Most would feel pride. Why didn't you? Juno smiled politely. Because pride means something different to us. I didn't understand their gesture, that's all. Then Lord Virakta himself stood from his seat. His silver lines glowed bright. His voice was calm but cold. You wiped away our gift. You rejected our hand of peace. I didn't reject peace, Juno said, holding her ground. I just wiped off spit. That's not the same. The room was silent. The judges looked at each other. Lights blinked. Thoughts passed silently between them. Finally, the tree-like judge spoke. We will review Earth's customs. Return in 1 station cycle. The tribunal was paused. Back in Earth Station office, Juno sat across from the other humans. Ambassador Tiller had taken medicine and looked a little better. You did fine, he said. But this could go either way. I don't want to insult anyone, Juno said. But I don't want Earth to be treated like a joke either. She got up and paced the room. Then suddenly Earth's science officer, Dr. Aaron Sethi, looked up from his tablet. Wait, he said. I think I found something. Everyone turned. Sethi tapped his screen. I was studying Xerelian biology. Their saliva has tiny particles, almost like pheromones. They affect brain chemistry. It makes other species feel calm and happy. Juno blinked. You're saying their spit changes how people think? Sethi nodded. Exactly. It's very subtle. But if someone gets spit on often, they might become more trusting, easier to influence. Tiller sat up straighter. So this honor is more than just tradition. It's power. Juno stared at the wall, thinking hard. Other species beg for it because they're being affected by it, she said slowly. No wonder the Xerelians are so respected. Sethi added, they've built a system where being honored also means being easier to control. Tiller frowned. This changes everything. That evening, Juno sat with her tablet and wrote down her thoughts. She had to be careful. She couldn't accuse the Xerelians directly. That would cause a bigger problem. But she could show the truth. Another way. The next day, the tribunal resumed. Juno stepped forward again. I have something new to present, she said calmly. Earth wishes to offer a different kind of understanding. She held up her tablet. A screen appeared above her showing scenes from Earth. Children helping each other after a flood. Scientists working in labs. A musician playing a violin. In a crowded street, a doctor comforting a patient. Farmers planting seeds in poor soil. People laughing, hugging, building. This is how we show respect, Juno said. By caring, by building, by listening. We don't have ancient rituals like spitting, but we have something just as strong. Connection. The hall was quiet. She continued, I didn't accept the Xerelian gift because I didn't understand it. And I still believe respect must be a choice, not something forced. A few delegates nodded slowly. Lord Varakta stood again. Earth is proud. Perhaps too proud. No, Juno said gently. Just different. She paused, then added, and difference is not disrespect. A soft murmur filled the room. One of the jellyfish beings raised a tentacle. Perhaps it is time we stop expecting everyone to follow one path. Another delegate from the rocky world of Crone added, agreed. Let every culture teach, not demand. The judges whispered among themselves again. Then the final tone rang. The tree judge spoke. We find Earth did not intend offense. No punishment will be given. But a warning is shared. Understanding is a two-way path. Let all species remember this. Juno exhaled in relief. After the tribunal, Juno walked through the halls alone. She passed Lord Varakta, who stood with other Xerelians. He said nothing, but his eyes followed her. Juno stopped and turned. I didn't mean to embarrass you, she said. I just didn't want to pretend. The Xerelian noble looked at her, his face unreadable. Perhaps, he said slowly. You are not as foolish as I thought. Juno smiled slightly. And perhaps you're not as scary as I thought. She kept walking. Later, back in Earth's office, the humans celebrated quietly. You did it, Ambassador Tiller said, raising his tea. Juno shrugged. We didn't win. We just told the truth. That's what makes it a win, Tiller said. Juno sat by the window and looked out. At the stars, the galaxy was huge, strange, and full of things Earth didn't know yet. But today she had made a mark, and she hadn't needed to bow, or beg, or get spit on. Just speak up. And that, she thought, was a kind of honor, too. The news spread across the galactic peace station like wildfire. Earth won the tribunal. Many couldn't believe it. A small young planet had stood up to the proud and ancient Xerelian Empire, and had not been punished. Juno Park had become the talk of every lounge, market, and control deck on the station. Some aliens praised her honesty. Others called her bold, even dangerous. But back in Earth's station office, Juno just wanted a nap. Do we have any coffee left? She asked, slumping in her chair. Ran out 2 days ago, said Dr. Aaron Sethi, flipping through news reports on his tablet. But look at this. 6 other species have started asking about human customs. They want to know more about Earth's culture now. Ambassador Tiller smiled. That's the power of being different and brave. Juno shrugged. I didn't do it to be famous, I just didn't want to be spat on again. Everyone laughed, but not everyone was laughing. In a tall chamber made of glowing blue stone, Lord Varakta stood in silence, watching a report scroll across a crystal screen. You let them question our way, said one of his advisors. You let them weaken the tradition. Lord Varakta did not blink. His silver patterns were dim, swirling slowly. No, he said. They have simply misunderstood it. They are young, but the others? They grow too bold, too noisy, the advisor hissed. Shall we prepare the old ways? Varakta nodded once. Let us remind the galaxy why the Zarelian Empire is to be respected. 2 days later, a call arrived in Earth's office. The Galactic Council had announced a cultural exchange fair, a rare event where each species could share their traditions, art, and values. The reason? Inspired by the tribunal outcome. Perfect, Tiller said. We'll prepare a presentation, some music, food, Earth history. Juno, you'll speak again. Me? Again? She said, surprised. You've already shown them who we are. Now you can show them what we love. Juno agreed, though she felt nervous. A casual speech in the tribunal was one thing, but now everyone would be watching, expecting something powerful. She wasn't a leader. She wasn't even a real diplomat, just an assistant with a stubborn heart, but she started preparing anyway. The day of the cultural exchange arrived. The council's grand dome was transformed into a glowing ring of platforms. Each species had their own space to show their culture. The Zarelians brought towering statues and live crystal dancers. The Orlacs displayed water art that moved like living paintings. The Fanar sang ancient space songs using 8 vocal cords. And Earth, a simple stage, wooden floors, warm lights, and a table with food, bread, fruits, coffee, and sweets. As the crowd moved through the displays, some laughed at Earth's simple corner. Others looked curious. Then Juno stepped onto the stage. She wore Earth's diplomat sash and smiled nervously. Hello, she began, her voice echoing gently. My name is Juno Park. I come from a blue planet with forests, oceans, and strange weather. A planet where people fall, fail, and get back up again. She paused. The audience was quiet. On Earth, we don't have many ancient powers or long traditions, but we have stories, struggles, hope. She showed pictures of humans climbing mountains, flying into space, building bridges, dancing in rain. We don't always agree, she said, but we try to learn, and we don't believe respect is something forced. We believe it's earned by listening, helping, and standing together. Then she lifted a cup. This is coffee. It wakes us up, helps us think, makes us talk. It's not magic, but it brings us together. She smiled. So if you want to learn about Earth, have a cup and talk with us. Then she stepped down. The response was slow at first. A few delegates approached, sniffed the coffee, tasted the bread. Then more came, and more. The Earth platform became the busiest spot in the fair. The Orlacs ambassador dipped a pastry in her coffee and smiled with all 4 eyes. A tall insectoid from Hive 9 asked Juno about human music. Even a Zarelian noble, not Lord Varakta, but one of his cousins, took a piece of fruit and nodded quietly. Something was changing. That night, Juno sat outside the Earth platform, sipping a cup of her own coffee, watching the stars beyond the dome. Dr. Sethi sat beside her. You made them curious. That's the first step to peace. Curious is good, Juno said. Better than afraid. But before he could reply, an alert blinked on their comm screen. Urgent message, sabotage in the Orlacs water pavilion. Suspected intruder escaped. All species on alert. Juno stood quickly. Who would do that? Moments later, the Orlacs representative arrived, wet and furious. Someone damaged our living artwork and left behind a false Earth flag. What? Juno said. We didn't do that. But already, rumors were spreading. The next day, Council, security called Juno for questioning. We found no clear evidence, said the guard. But many suspect Earth. Some say your popularity is growing too fast. Because we offered food and kindness? She asked. Because others fear change, the guard said simply. Back at the Earth office, Tiller looked worried. Someone is trying to make us look like a threat. Someone who doesn't want peace. Juno thought hard. It has to be the Xerelians, or someone working with them. They want things to stay the same. Tiller nodded. But we need proof. Until then, keep calm, keep strong. 3 days later, Earth was invited to a council session. Juno stood before the same hall again. Some species looked at her kindly, others avoided her gaze. A Xerelian speaker stepped forward. Not Lord Veracta this time, but his advisor. We ask the council to consider new limits, the advisor said, to prevent dangerous ideas from spreading too fast. Not every culture is ready to lead. The meaning was clear, a message against Earth. Juno stepped forward. She did not shout. She did not accuse. She just said, "Ideas don't break peace. Fear does," and sat down. That night, someone left a message at Earth's door. It was written in old Xerelian code. Dr. Sethi decoded it. It said, "They fear you, and they are planning more. Speak soon, or they will silence you." Juno read it twice, then looked out at the stars. Things were no longer about her. It was bigger now. The galaxy was watching, and it was time to make a stand. The message left at Earth's door echoed in Juno's mind. Someone was trying to silence them. But who? And why? The Galactic Peace Station was no longer a place of calm. It was a battlefield of ideas, suspicion, and old rivalries. Juno sat with Ambassador Tiller and Dr. Sethi in their small office. The walls seemed to close in. "We need to act," Tiller said firmly. "Waiting won't protect us." "But what?" Juno asked. "We're just a young planet. We don't have armies or power like the Xerelians." "No," Tiller said. "But we have something stronger. Truth and allies." Juno nodded slowly. "Okay. What's the plan?" The plan was simple but risky. Earth would host a series of open meetings called the Voices of Peace, where any species could come and share their stories, their fears, their hopes. No rules except respect, no speeches from nobles or diplomats. Just honest talk. If the galaxy saw Earth as a place of listening and truth, maybe they could break the walls of fear. The first meeting was held in a quiet hall on the station's lowest deck. Juno stood in front of a small crowd. Many species came. Some were curious, others cautious. A soft-spoken alien from the water world of Lyra spoke first. "My people fear the Xerelians," she said. "Their power is like the ocean's storm, strong and cold." An insectoid from Hive 9 raised many eyes. "But the Xerelians also protect us," it said. "Without them we might be lost." The room hummed with quiet voices. Juno smiled. "Fear and trust can live together," she said. "But only if we talk." The meeting ended with a shared meal. Alien foods passed from hand to hand, stories from mouth to mouth. Word spread quickly. The meetings grew. More species came. The Xerelian Empire tried to stop them. At the next council session, Lord Veracta rose and spoke in a voice like thunder. "These meetings sow discord," he said. "They weaken our traditions and threaten peace." A wave of supporters clicked and hummed. Juno stepped forward again. "Peace is not silence," she said. "It is honesty. It is courage to speak." Some delegates nodded. Others frowned, but the council could not stop the meetings. Meanwhile, Earth's corner of the station became a refuge for those who wanted change. One night, a small group gathered in the Earth office. Among them was a Xerelian noble who quietly approached Juno. "I am Krelthar," he said. "I do not agree with Lord Veracta's harsh ways. I want to help." Juno looked at him carefully. "Why?" "Because the galaxy will suffer if we continue like this, and because you remind me of hope." Juno smiled, feeling a spark of trust. The culture war was not fought with weapons, but with ideas. New stories spread, tales of cooperation, kindness, and courage. Earth's meetings inspired others to start similar gatherings on their planets. Even some Xerelian youth began to question old rules, but resistance was fierce. One day, the Orlax water pavilion was sabotaged again, this time with stronger damage. The council blamed Earth openly. Juno's heart sank. "We have to prove our innocence," she said. Dr. Sethi and Juno worked day and night. They collected data from station security cams. They interviewed witnesses. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The saboteur was not from Earth, but a rogue group within. The Cirellians, those loyal to Lord Varacta's hardline faction. Juno prepared to reveal the truth at the next council session. The day came. The hall was packed. Tension filled the air. Juno stood before the council. "We have proof," she said calmly. She displayed images and messages collected by Dr. Sethi. Secret meetings, sabotage plans, false flags. Murmurs rose. Some delegates gasped. Lord Varacta's eyes flashed with anger. "You accuse us without respect," he roared. "Respect must be earned," Juno said firmly, "not used as a weapon." The council called for quiet. Then, Krelthar stepped forward. "I stand with Earth," he said. "These rogue elements threaten us all." Other Xerellians murmured agreement. The tide was turning, but Juno knew the fight was not over. Lord Varacta withdrew from the council, declaring Earth an enemy. The station grew tense. Security forces increased patrols. Trade slowed, yet the meetings continued. One evening, Juno received a message from Krelthar. "Meet me at the Garden of Honor," it said. Juno went, her heart pounding. Krelthar waited among the glowing jellyfish lights. "We must find peace," he said, "not through power or fear, but through understanding." Juno nodded. "I agree. But it will take time." He smiled. "Then we start now." The culture war was far from over. But in that moment, two unlikely allies made a promise. To build a galaxy where respect was not forced but shared, and where even an Earthling who refused to be spat on could stand tall. The Galactic Peace Station was quiet in the early hours. Juno Park sat alone on a bench in the Garden of Honor, her thoughts as still as the glowing jellyfish lights above. It had been a long journey, a fight not with weapons, but with words and courage. The culture war had tested her faith in peace. But now hope was stronger. The message from Krelthar had changed everything. The Xerellian noble had become Earth's secret ally in the council, helping to calm the old empire's fierce leaders and open minds to new ways. Together they worked to create a treaty of understanding, a document promising respect for all species and their cultures, not forced respect. True respect. The council gathered again in the Grand Dome. Juno stood before the assembly, the treaty in her hands. "This is more than words on paper," she said clearly. "It is a promise to listen, to learn, to grow." The hall was silent. Then one by one, leaders from many planets stood and signed. Even Lord Varacta was there, older, quieter, but still proud. When he took the pen, his eyes met Juno's. Without words, he gave a nod. Outside the dome, crowds gathered. Species that once saw each other with fear now smiled and shook hands. The culture war had ended, not with a victory or defeat, but with understanding. Juno returned to Earth's corner of the station. Her team was there, waiting with smiles and cheers. Tiller hugged her. "You did it." Juno shook her head. "We did it. Together." Life began to change on the station. Earth's simple corner became a symbol of hope and unity. People brought their foods, stories, music, and dreams. Children from many planets played, together under the glowing lights. One afternoon, Juno was invited to speak at the school. She looked out at dozens of young faces, eyes full of wonder and questions. "Remember," she told them, "our differences make us strong. Our courage to understand makes us brave." The children smiled, inspired, but the greatest change was in Juno herself. She was no longer just a quiet assistant from Earth. She had become a voice for peace in the galaxy, a reminder that even the smallest planet could shine bright. Months later, Juno walked through the station's gardens with Krelthar. "The galaxy is not perfect," he said softly, "but it is changing. Juno smiled. And so are we. He looked at her with respect. You taught me that respect is not about power, but about kindness. Juno laughed gently. I just refuse to be spit on. Krelthar chuckled. And, in doing so, you changed everything. The stars shone brightly outside the station, silent witnesses to a new dawn, a dawn where courage, honesty, and respect could create peace, and where an earthling's simple act of standing tall made history. The end.